David. No, seriously? He's still to do it today? Just saw him. He's only got another week to go, and then he's done. And he's stubborn as a goat. Mouton looked up again at the tower. David Campbell, the cathedral's clerk of works, was a keen amateur photographer and had been undertaking a fundraising project where he took a photograph from the same parapet of the cathedral tower every day for a year. An exhibition was planned for when the project was completed. A lot of money had been raised, over £50,000, and it had been earmarked for the restoration of the statuary of the west front of the cathedral. Campbell had been blogging about it too, posting daily pictures and his reflections as he looked out over the city from the same vantage point. Mouton had been following the blog and knew the Dean was right. Campbell's stubbornness was legendary. He had continued with the project through autumn winds that registered at more than 100 miles an hour on the anemometer atop the spire, and then again through the snows in February. He wouldn't let today's rain stop him and would probably see the storm as a perfect opportunity to take a particularly striking image. They both looked up to the parapet. "He's going to get soaked," Mouton said. "Rather him than me." The Dean wished Mouton a good day and took his coffee into the gift shop. Mouton tucked a napkin into his collar. He looked up again as another clap of thunder rumbled overhead. Rainwater swept down the camber of the glass, a ripple that passed through his view of the tower and the spire. Another fork of lightning spread out across the sky as he noticed something up at the juncture where the tower ended and the spire began. Movement. A dark blur against the stone. It took him a moment to realize what it was. A person, arms and legs flailing, falling down the side of the tower. He watched for a second, and then another. The body caught against the stone, flipped into a spin and then bounced off a buttress. It spun again, head over heels, limbs flailing, and then disappeared. Mouton heard the muffled thud of impact as it hit the ground. He froze, slack-jawed with confusion and not sure what he was supposed to do. The cafe was quiet for a moment, the silence interrupted by the sound of a dropped tray, and then, finally, the first scream. 2. "Come on," Mackenzie Jones said. "We need to get in the car or we're going to be late." She was trying as hard as she could to keep a sunny temperament, despite the challenges that two tired and irritable children were presenting. It had been her weekend to have the two of them, and despite the occasional argument, they had been on their best behaviour and a pleasure to be with. Mack had taken them to enjoy the rides at Paulton's Park on Saturday, and then to the cinema to see the latest Pixar movie, followed by a visit to the city and lunch at Nando's on Sunday. They had gone to bed much later than would have been the case had they been staying with Mack's estranged husband, Andy, but now, after allowing them to stay up until 10 for a midnight feast, she was paying the price. It had been difficult to get them out of bed, and their truculence looked like it was permanent, despite Mack's threats of a trip to the headmaster's study should they be late. "Daddy never shouts at us," pouted Daisy. Mack was about to retort that perhaps they should stay with Daddy then, but bit her tongue. Andy's constant exhortations that she needed to be more patient with them hadn't helped their relationship as it entered its terminal phase, and she couldn't help but imagine his version of the morning routine, beatific smiles and pleases and thank yous, whereas all she received were exasperated frowns and grunts, and that was if she was lucky. Thinking of Andy brought her back to what he had said on Friday night, just after dropping the kids off. He had admitted he was in a relationship with a woman from work, and that the two of them were thinking about moving in together. Mack had long since suspected that they had been more than just colleagues, and, keeping her voice down for fear of upsetting the children, had asked him how long it had been going on. Andy had confessed that he had been seeing her for 6 months, their relationship starting when he and Mack had still been together. It would have been the height of hypocrisy for Mack to criticise him for that, given her own dalliance with Atticus Priest, but as she had lain in bed that night thinking about what he had said, she found that it made her feel a little better about what had happened. She had convinced herself that the end of the marriage was all her fault. But that wasn't fair. They had both been miserable. Perhaps, if they had been more honest with each other, they might have been able to emerge from the wreckage of their union with a better chance of staying on good terms. That seemed like a lost cause now. Mack knelt and helped Sebastian as he struggled to tie his laces. "All right," she said with a smile. "Let's get into the car and off we go."